All right. We are live.
We both are
It was like a little wiggle.
live dance.
The little we're live shimmy.
Yes. Welcome to our crafting sprint. Like,
Where
That'll
we dance.
become like our thing. We're like, yes, we're live.
yeah.
That's how you know.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm glad that we, got to do one of these for National Craft Month.
Yes. Thank you for finding that out, Huck. I feel like
I got a notification from
must.
Joanne's, and I was like, so good job, Joanne's, on your marketing strategy.
Yeah.
Making sure we know.
Yeah.
They were probably hoping you would go out and buy a bunch of stuff for your.
Yeah. So I was
celebrate.
like, but
Hello, Hannah. Yes.
Oh, hello.
I'm also excited you could make it.
Was it last weekend? Yeah, I think last weekend we had some guests over, and one of the ladies was crocheting like the entire weekend.
Really?
And so then I was like, well, now I feel like I should be crocheting.
Yeah.
Because you're at my house and you're crocheting. So
It's a good motivator.
Yes.
she's way faster than me, though. She finished like 10 towels. Like she was making some kitchen towels from like cotton yarn. And she made like 10 of these kitchen towels in the weekend. And I'm like, let me do like 3 rows on my Afghan.
Still counts. Yeah.
Wow, crocheting feels like a very complicated way to get like a dish towel. But
Yeah.
I mean, if that's like the kind of thing that you want, then amazing. I just like wouldn't have thought of doing that.
Yeah, because I would think it'd be hard to wash.
Yeah, I wonder if it would be. Yeah, like because they might get caught on stuff.
Yeah, or like food inside there and all that.
Well, so I actually I knit a bunch of dishcloths with like that cotton yarn, and it actually doesn't I know that knit stitches are obviously different construction than crochet, but I actually feel like they work really well. They wash really easy.
Interesting.
Maybe I should try it sometime.
And they're nice take a break kind of projects because they're quick and like satisfying to make. So it's like if I'm in the middle of something and I'm like, I'm at a stressful part, I don't want to do this, then I'm like, I'll just make a dishcloth. I can always use dishcloths.
Yeah. I actually watched it. So I think one time I had mentioned how how there are, machines that knit, but there aren't machines that crochet because it's like too complicated to do that. I actually saw a video the other day explaining why that is. This is a bit of a tangent, but stop. It's about crochet. Yeah. Because with knitting, because you are going across in such a way that you're like putting loops onto one knitting needle, it's easy for a machine to like create. It's a very standard process for a machine to do, that they can just kind of go across and make these loops, and then they have the next row of loops and just can do that pretty easily. But with crochet, this is at least my understanding from watching one video, but because you're working with one stitch at a time, and the way in which it's not just like one row of loops looping into the next row of loops, it is a loop looping into the last row and the side row. It's like going much more, it's interacting with a lot more stitches. It's much more complicated for a machine to do that. And because the type of motion that you have to do actually involves so many different directions and motions, it's not just like a machine can recreate the kind of, it's not 2-dimensional, but like the shape of like knitting. But with crocheting, you have to like use there are so many small movements and interactions with it that like when a person does it, it's very simple because our hands are built to do these kind of fine motor skills and like interact with something in so many different directions. But for a machine, it's very difficult to do that. And so it's like, not necessarily that it would be 100% impossible to do, but it would be so complicated. They're like, it is not worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Okay.
Anyway.
So you guys are more special than my craft.
No, that's not the point I was making. I just thought it was interesting.
No, it is interesting.
But yeah.
That is cool.
Because I just like never thought about the fact that like you have to like how many directions you're interacting with.
Right. Like it's not like a single motion that you're repeating the same thing. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and like the thing is, it's not like when people do it, it's not like crocheting is like so much more difficult and complicated than knitting because people's hands are like both like styles of doing things are pretty simple for like people to do because our hands are like able to interact in that way. It's more like just for machines, it's hard to like figure out how to program a machine to do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was my tangent of a
No, I love it. It's
fun fact about a video I watched.
Yeah. I think it is perfectly on topic, actually.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Hello, Natalie. So do we want to do like kind of a casual round of introductions? You guys can just like, I don't know, however much you want to say about your channel and then tell us what you're working on.
Sure. I'll start. That's all right. So, hi, I'm Huck. My channel is Badger Reads. I make booktube videos. I don't know what else to tell you. But what I'm currently working on is I have come back to my giant sweater. I had put it down for a while because I reached a point where I was like, I don't like this. I didn't like the way that it was going. The sleeve, because I'm making it up as I go, and the sleeve was not working out. But the other day, I decided that I needed to backtrack, so I pulled out like most of what I had done on the sleeve and restarted. So this is where I'm at the moment with my sweater. I've got front, back, there's like a collar, and one side is stitched up, and then I'm working on this sleeve. I'm not sure how this is going to turn out ultimately because truly this thing is incredibly heavy. And it's going to be more like wearing a weighted blanket than anything else.
Oh,
and I'm not sure if that's going to be overwhelming or if it's going to be comforting.
You're right. This will be your like cozy I need a hug sweater. Like
Right. What I should do is like make you know like a thunder shirt is for dogs?
Yes.
I should do that for my dogs, is make them thunder shirts out of crochet and just be like, here's a really heavy and dense crocheted sweater.
Yes.
It might be like the kind of sweater you wear on your couch, but maybe don't like walk with because it might be like heavy out and about.
Yeah, my intention for this was essentially to have a sweater that I would like wear around the house or sleep in. It's like a cozy at home, like pajama sweater kind of thing. Because the point is like it's just very large and very soft.
Yes.
So then the heavy might not feel bad because like that's like the point of weighted blankets, right? They're supposed to like give you that comforting or whatever.
So we'll see.
All right. So am I next? Okay.
Oh, yes.
I'm Kelly from Cozy Reader Kelly. Yeah, I do booktube videos.
Why are we still so bad at introductions?
I do booktube things here. Yeah, so talk about books, most genres, and today I am doing my hand quilting. So I'm sewing. I mean, it's not very exciting because I'm not working on one block at a time. I'm doing like the same thing from each block. So it's not like exciting. So I'm sewing these little colored triangles on the white fabric because my wrist has been hurting. So I don't want to do crochet today because even though our human hands can do that, sometimes it's not good to do.
Right.
So like the wrist movement, I think would hurt.
Yes.
Yeah, makes sense. There is a lot of wrist involved in crocheting.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So, hi everyone. I'm Kara. My channel is obviously Wild Book Garden because we're here right now. I also do booktube videos.
No way.
Yeah.
It's almost actually as if that's how we all know each other.
I know. What a wild thing to have in common, right? I am doing something that I think is even less exciting than yours, Kelly, because I am not even like knitting something right now. I'm weaving in the ends
Oh.
because like I'm not even close to done with what I'm working on. This is going to be like a wrap, and I really like how it's looking so far. I'm also very proud of my first like real kind of brioche stitch, which it's not showing up very well, but like the columns.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So I really like how it's looking, but I know myself and I will be so mad when I get like all of the different sections done and then I have to weave in like 50 ends. So I'm going to kind of do it in stages. So I'm weaving in all of the ends that I have so far. And that's where we're starting. Um which is yeah, even less exciting I think than
You know, I don't understand the hate on weaving in ends. I enjoy it. I find it very satisfying to like weave in the ends.
yeah. No, like I find it satisfying too. I think I just don't like having to do a ton of them at once, you know?
Yeah,
Like
that makes sense.
because when it's like on your standard or on my standard knitting project, I maybe have to weave in, I don't know, like around 10 or something, which to me
Mhm.
is not that bad. It's not a lot. And I also, like you said, find it like very satisfying to see it look all pretty afterwards. But this would probably be, how many ends would this be? Because there's 24 different sections and half of them are brioche, which is at least doubling them. So it actually might be closer to 100 ends, and I'm like, I don't want to do those all at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems like a lot.
I probably will. I did get out my ironing board because I figured maybe I'll iron the ones I've already sewed, and maybe I'll do one block today,
Yes,
just
yeah,
show. But I first like I pulled it out. I keep it under my bed, and I'm like, oh, the cats are using this as a bed, so I had to like lint brush the whole thing
yeah.
before I could even use it. And I'm like, oh, I get
Of course they found it.
this is what
Yeah.
maybe I should store it with a towel on it or something.
Yeah, or like in a bag or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was thinking, like, the quilt that I'm working on, I was like, I should have coordinated this so that we could do one of these when I was like doing the ironing because I had to spend like hours ironing things and it would have been so much better to have people to talk to instead of just sitting there being like, oh my God. Like I
Yeah,
listened to an audiobook, so it's not like I was just standing there in silence, but it would have been more fun to iron than
yeah.
doing this. But that
I'm
part
just
is behind me.
yeah. I'm just picturing you just like standing with like an iron in your hand, like
Truly,
just
I was just trying to entertain myself while I was just like it was not great. I'm not a big
yes.
fan of ironing. I don't know if anyone's really that into ironing though.
Right. Like, are there people who get excited about ironing?
There
I
has
don't
to be
know.
somebody who gets hyped about ironing,
I
but I don't
guess.
feel like that's a universal experience.
Right.
I think there are some people that find it relaxing. I am not one of those people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I also think there's a difference between like I do enjoy it more when it is like you're ironing out creases in like a piece of fabric because it's very satisfying to see it get like all smooth and nice. But I was like ironing fusible interfacing onto
Yeah.
things and like that's not, I don't know, I didn't find it satisfying because I was like, you don't get the whole like, oh, it's so smooth now, you
Right.
know, the
Doesn't give you the
transformation.
same
Yeah.
endorphins. Like,
Yeah, but I have made progress on my quilt, which is good. I don't remember what I last updated you guys on, but the front is pretty much done. I just
Ooh.
have to decide if I'm putting a border all the way around it. And the back is done too. I did a pattern of like just like triangles. So there's one fabric that is green with white polka dots, like very subtle white polka dots, and then one pattern that is strawberries, and it's just like triangles. Uh,
oh, cool.
so it, and I think it looks cute. And now I have to line everything up and see if everything's the same size. And if it's not, I'm gonna then I'm gonna be adding some borders onto things to make them the right size. and then have to like attach the layers together. I guess I'm gonna have to make some binding for myself to go around the edge, which I guess I've made binding before, but I don't remember how, so I'm gonna have to Google it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not that hard. You just cut it and then you fold it, and yeah.
Yeah, I just hope that I have enough of the fabric because like I could buy more, but I just don't want to. So I hope I have enough left over to do that pretty easily.
Yeah. The only problem I have with binding is that's the ironing I do not like, because you have to iron it in half, you know, and it's so small. So you're like just ironing this little like long, really long but thin piece of fabric.
Actually, here I have a question. When you're putting binding on a quilt, do you do it where it's like oh god, how do I explain what's happening? So when you have like double fold binding, right? Do you like put it on and then sew like all the layers together at once, or do you do it where you like open up the layers, sew it, fold it over, and then sew the other edge? Do you know what I'm saying?
So if you have the way I do it, like you have the quilt with the 3 layers, you've already quilted it, right? You put the 3 layers together. It's all done. And then I take the fold, like say this is my quilt. I take it and sew it, machine sew it on one side, then fold it over and hand sew it on the other side.
Okay.
I don't put it inside.
Yes. Okay. That's okay. Cool. That's what my question was.
Yeah, so you sew it on the front. If you're going to do hand sew on the back, then you machine sew it on the front, then you fold it over and whip stitch it on the back.
Oh god, I don't know if I have the patience to hand sew it all the way around.
If you don't, then you should machine it on the back, flip to the front so that you can at least make your front machine quilting the nicer one. Because what happens if you machine quilting on both sides is it's going to show, the machine quilting will show up on the back.
Right.
So at least you want it to look nice on the front.
Right.
So that's why most quilters do it whip stitch on the back, so you don't like see it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that definitely makes sense and is probably a better quality way of doing things. I just don't know. I don't know if I have that level of quality control.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I have one. I guess it's out in the living room. I do have one where I machine both sides and it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Can attest. It is okay.
It's fine. It's just not gonna like look like you will see the
right. Yeah.
But if you don't care.
All right. And you do the like quilting part of like sewing the layers together first before putting the binding.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's how I do it, yeah.
No,
and how most people do it, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't quilt stuff, so
can't speak for all quilters everywhere.
I'm just doing things in the way that either in the way that seems logical or whatever I think of first.
Yeah, I do not enjoy binding, I would say.
Yeah. Do you, when you're doing like the quilting the layers together, this is my other question. Do you do that by hand or do you do machine sew that?
Machine.
Do you have just a standard sewing machine or do you like have a special, because I just feel like the quilt is going to be too big. It's going to bunch up and be too big to like do that.
Well, it depends on your machine, like how big your machine is. I purposely for my machine quilting, because for a while there I was doing a lot of quilts at the same time, and so I had bought a machine with a big throat. I don't know if you know what that is, like the area between like where the needle is and the side. Yeah. So it has a wide throat, so I could do.
I do not like that it's called a throat, though. But like I understand what you're saying.
Big on my machine because it's an industrial. Mine is an industrial sewing machine. Like it's all metal. So it's not like,
okay.
Like all the parts outside and inside are metal. Yeah. So it's like more. So it doesn't do fancy things like embroidery and stuff like that. It's just like meant to have nice big throat and like just sew everything. I still don't think I would do like a king size on mine, but I have done like a queen or at least a full size.
Okay, I'm doing a twin size, so
You should be okay. And I guess it just depends on if your machine is super tiny, but like you have to it's annoying. You have to like really roll it up and like yeah.
Okay.
And it depends on if you want to do like free motion quilting like that. I'm not great at that
I'm
because
not
then
getting fancy with this.
because then you have to keep adjusting. But if you're just doing straight lines, then you should be able to like roll it up, do your straight line, and then you unroll it and then you roll it again,
Okay. Is there like a certain sorry, I'm just like asking you all these questions about quilting.
That's fine.
But in terms of like the, I guess, pattern of lines that you do, like, is there certain, I don't know, like number of lines or how much distance is best, or like, do you do like squares or just straight lines, or like what do you normally
You
do?
you can look it up. I think some places say like like some batting will say how many inches you should have like, between your thing. I tend to feel like because I don't want it to bunch up a lot when it's washed, and so I know like the one time I did like straight lines where I did like diagonal lines across the whole thing. I think I did them as 2-inch gap between the lines. But there are some people that do bigger, and then some people just do what's called stitch in the ditch, where you just like if you have squares, then you just do around the squares, and then maybe you do a triangle.
Yeah.
You do around the square and then a triangle to make it together.
Yeah. I don't think I'm going to do that just because the front and the back have different squares. So they're not going to line up. So if I try to do like a stitch in the ditch, it's not going to look good on one side. So if I just do like it's the same, like it's not following squares on either of the sides. It's just you know.
I find a diagonal line will go with anything, like for me, because like as long as you're, I don't know, like depending on if they're squares, I probably wouldn't then match up to like the edge of the square when you're doing the diagonal on purpose, so that you don't have it like matching up on one side but not on the other side.
Yeah. Okay. I'll also look at the batting that I got and see if they have any suggestions.
Yeah, you can also just do straight across, I guess, but I find just like visually a diagonal line looks better. But
okay,
I don't know. I guess I could show you. I'd have to go upstairs and get it, but I could show you the one I did diagonally. But it wasn't squares. I'm trying to think if I have any that are squares that I did diagonally.
Yeah, I have a lot of like squares and then like triangles, so there are a lot of diagonal lines like in it. So a diagonal might be good.
Yeah, so that wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for your quilting expertise.
And I'm always like super simple. Like I've done a couple where I've done free motion, but if I do free motion, it's all just like the little squigglies, like there's no design. It's just like I'm like shoo, like I'm just making squiggles across the whole thing because that's like about all I can handle. I can't do it, and I don't have a fancy machine, so I can't do like super fancy stuff. But most of the time, I'm like, let's just do some lines, and it's sewn together.
Yeah.
Giselle
I'm not trying to get real fancy with this. I'm like, my quilting skills are not super high, and so I'm trying to keep it pretty straightforward.
And the way I did it with the lines, to stay straight, is I actually mark it with painter's tape, and then I sew along the side of the tape.
Oh, tricks of the trade. Cool.
And that's probably why I did like 2 or 2.5 inches, because I would just like line up the tape with the like I started with one line, and then I would put the tape on and do it on the other side of the tape. Yeah, so I would just do the width of the tape.
That makes sense. Okay.
Just try not to sew over the tape a lot, because then your needle gets gummy.
Yeah.
So you want to stay on the.
Don't sew over it like you do pins.
Oh my god. I shouldn't have told you guys that.
No, I
know. Yeah. You'll just gum up your needle if you sew over the tape.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Feel free to tell us in the comments what you're working on. Giselle is here and is cross-stitching today. And Hannah says, "This is all fascinating. Now I want to try quilting."
Do it! Especially now, there's so many online videos. When I started, it was like, when did I start? Because I started quilting in like right after college, so it would have been like around 2003. So not that there wasn't internet, but it wasn't like YouTube, like where everybody had everything on YouTube. So I was only like learning in a class, and then I would go home and be like, now I have to remember what she told me in the class.
Right.
And so I just had to figure out a lot of it on my own.
Yeah.
Or like try to remember stuff, or go into the quilt shop and be like, help me, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think it's really helpful. Well, YouTube is always super helpful. It's also very helpful to get to ask people questions, because sometimes I'm like, I have a question, but when I try to Google it, I can't find the answer, you know?
Or you don't know what it's called, because like all these crafts have names for things.
Very specific names. Also, sometimes it's like they answer your question like 10 minutes into a 20-minute video, and I'm like, I'm not watching this, so I'm never going to find out.
Yeah, that's why, like, I always look for, like, I had a tab open for how to do a brioche decrease, because it is, in my opinion, incredibly complicated if you haven't done it before. And I always go for the demonstration video that's like 2 minutes. I'm like, yes, just show me, like, literally the only thing I'm asking about. Like,
this is the thing. This is actually, to me, like the peak usefulness of all of these short form videos like Reels and TikToks and what's the YouTube Shorts, is I'm like, I don't really care about them for like the other types of videos, but the fact that there is like a 30-second video that shows you how to do the one crochet stitch I am looking for, the peak usefulness.
Yes.
Yeah, because sometimes I need to be reminded how to do the crochet stitch, because, you know, I'm still learning. And so I will like pull up the video, and I have to like, it's like, oh, they're showing you how to start and how to like chain and how to like do it. I'm like, no, I just want you to show me how to do a half double crochet. Like,
yeah.
I have to like fast forward to the point where I'm like, okay, you've already chained. Now show me the actual stitch.
Yes.
Like, I get the point of all that, but then your video should be, how do you start a project? Not telling me the like half double crochet stitch. Like, just show me the stitch.
Yeah. There are some stitches that the way that you start it, like you have to start in a very specific way, or like you have to have a certain number of stitches in order for it to work out. But I agree that there are lots of times where I'm like, this is more information than I needed. I just need like the one like stitch.
Just remind me.
So yeah. That's what there was, that like
first.
yeah. That like green sweater that I've been working on that I started like 2 years ago. I had to watch a bunch of videos because I was like, I started this 2 years ago. I don't remember how to do this stitch. Someone needs to remind me.
I was a different person then.
Exactly.
Like, what is yarn? Like,
we've had New Year, New Me 2 times over by now. Okay. Like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm going to see if I can like plug in my iron here. I'm dropping everything. So are you guys reading something now?
Always.
Yeah, I was like, I am always reading many things.
Sorry, I just got my sweater stuck.
Oh, no,
I'm stuck on my pillow now.
Oh no.
My yarn just got messed up. What's happening?
Like, seriously, I don't know how to get out of here. I have to cut it. Okay. Another giant snag. Like, what is this? Is like the second one today. Like, what is
happening? Sweater.
This sweater is horrible. Amazon, I will never buy sweaters from you again.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry.
My yarn was like tangling, and now I'm worried that it's gonna get like knotted at some point.
Oh no.
I've been living dangerously, and I did not like roll my yarn into a ball. I just like took from the center.
No.
But like it's like one of those balls of, or one of those skeins where it's not the kind where it's like a loop that they like twist.
Oh,
You
okay.
know?
Okay.
It's like the kind that you get from like Michael's, and so you can like pull from the
Oh
center.
yeah. That I think is fine. Like,
But it's still, sometimes they still get, it's less likely to get messed up, but it still gets messed up sometimes. And I'm a little bit worried now because it just got tangled and like scared me.
Hannah is currently working through her overflowing alterations basket. One day I'll feel on top of it enough to actually have time to make something from scratch. Yeah. Repairs can take up like so much of your crafting time. And Giselle sent me a picture of what they're working on. Let me see if I can get it to load. My phone has been taking its sweet time doing anything. Like, so maybe it won't show me, but let's see.
Trying to get this thing to go back to the other side. It won't go.
I recently was thinking about getting more into like I do repair my clothes, but I have some pants that they're like joggers that got a hole in them because I got caught on something that as I passed it. And so there's this like hole like this big in the leg. And I was like, I like these joggers, but now there's this weird hole in them. And so I was like, should I just put a patch over it? Like, I do repair my clothing, but something like that I don't normally like. It usually it's more like if it's on a seam, so it's easy to like repair in an invisible way. Anyway, so I was like, am I committed to like wearing pants that have like a large patch on them?
Yeah. Well, I guess it depends on if they're like the kind of joggers that you're just wearing around the house and you don't care.
Yeah, they are ones that I wear as pajamas, but I also like to feel like I look cute when I wear pajamas.
I want to sleep knowing I look cute. Like,
yes.
Can you, like, well, I guess it depends on the fabric. If it's like, because I would say you could like, there's like visible mending where people like do kind of like an embroidery type design over the mended spot so that it makes it look like intentional.
I could try that. I have never really gotten into embroidery. Like I've tried it before, but embroidery is not a thing that I think I'm very good at. I guess I could try to get good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recently had to teach myself how to darn socks. Like a Victorian lady, because that's like kind of how you have to repair hand knitted socks. And like it's, I mean, I still watch the tutorial every time I do it because I'm still not like great at it, but I like get how to do it now. But one of the things that that they were saying is like most knitters, like you probably won't have the same yarn by the time you need to repair a sock. So pretty much everyone just kind of goes for something that is different and like looks deliberate, you know, like a coordinating color or a really different color. So that's kind of what you were talking about with your joggers.
Yeah. Wait, what was I gonna say? Oh, right, because you're talking about like, I know how to do this, but I still watch the tutorial every time, which like I do that with hand sewing buttonholes.
Yes.
Because here's the thing. I cannot for the life of me figure out how to machine sew a buttonhole. I have my machine can do it. I have the right foot for it. I have watched many tutorials. It never works. And I just cannot for the life of me do a machine sewn buttonhole. So I hand sew buttonholes. And every single time I have to watch a tutorial about how to do it.
Yep.
Yeah. I can't, I mean, you would think by now I could machine sew them. No. I can't figure out how that even works.
Right? Isn't it hard? I don't know why it's so difficult, but it is. Buttonholes are complicated.
Giselle's picture finally loaded, so I don't know if you guys can see that, but looks like a very ambitious cross-stitch project.
That looks cool.
Yeah, is that like so it's a person?
Yeah.
Am I seeing this correctly? Okay, because it's kind of small on my screen.
I know. Well, it's like hard to show stuff.
Yeah, that's very cool though.
Natalie is on a wild goose chase for her art notebook. Hopefully, it will turn up as she has a few ideas that have in part been inspired by watching us all craft. I love
Ooh.
that.
Oh, awesome. I did notice because you had said last time, I don't remember, was it last time you were talking about how that people go back and watch the crafting sprints?
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that. And I look back and I'm like, wow, you have quite a few views on there. So people must like just have it on in the background when
Yeah.
they're doing stuff.
That's fun. Get to
Yeah.
hang out.
Okay. I think I have all of the ends so far woven in. So this is
Okay.
more like what it's actually going to look like.
I forgot what you said you were making.
Actually, I was thinking
Oh.
the same thing. I remembered like the stitch, and then I was like,
Yeah,
what is
yeah.
the actual item?
This is gonna be a wrap, like
Okay.
a shawl type thing, and it's gonna be a bunch of these like little different stripe uh patterns. So there's like this lace one, there's like brioche, um there's I don't know what this one would be. It's like increases and decreases, but it looks cool. And yeah, and it's going to be kind of a wild chaotic rainbow, and I'm hoping that it's going to be so wild that it actually looks like cohesive, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it
That's
should
the plan.
it'll match all the colors.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Is this something that is this one like another gift, or are you making it for yourself?
This one is probably going to be for me. But sometimes I think that, and then I get to the end and I'm like, okay, but you know who would really like this? And then because we've discussed before, it's like how, like, if you're like a process crafter, it's like
Right.
sometimes you're like, okay, I have gotten my enjoyment from the thing, and now I can give the object to somebody else.
Yeah. Or if it is something very difficult, you're like, I don't like this anymore. Please get out of my
Exactly.
house.
Yes, exactly.
It's away from me. Mm-hmm.
I'm so sad. I had to rip out how much of it had I completed? I feel like I was maybe like 2/3 done with a like cardigan that I was making as a gift for somebody, and it was going great. It looked beautiful. It had all these cables, and like that wasn't the hard part. And then the part that like that I messed up so bad that I'm like, this is like unsalvageable was like just the like basic construction part, because like the pattern I'm using, it's like good about explaining like stitch things, but then it'll say something. So it's like a seamless construction, which means that you knit it all in one piece.
Mhm.
But that's not exactly true, because you'll like knit some of it and then you'll put those things aside on like a stitch holder, and then you'll keep knitting, and then you end up kind of knitting them together. And the pattern I was using, I think, kind of assumed that you knew how to do that. And I didn't even know what to call that. So I was trying to find like a tutorial for how to do it, and I couldn't find anything. And it was bad. It was like really depressing to unravel all of
Oh
it. Like,
no.
so someday I'll come back to it. But in the meantime, I'm like, I'm going to work on other things and pretend I never tried to make this sweater. Like,
Yeah.
YouTube is letting me know that there's a live on my channel.
Wow.
It's like, yes, thank you.
I am aware. I'm a part of this.
Yes.
Good to know.
Yeah. I am going to go grab the sock I'm working on. I will be right back.
I was like thinking I might do one block, but the problem with that is that then I have to decide what pieces to use.
Sorry, what? I missed what you said. I was looking at something.
I decided I should maybe just make one block so you could see what it looks like, but then I have to like know what pieces to use, because the point of this like specific pattern is it's all supposed to be random. Like you're not supposed to have two of the same colors next to each other. So then I'm like overthinking this.
Oh, so you're like, it has to be random, so I have to overplan it now.
Yeah. But isn't that the point of being random, that I shouldn't have to overplan it? Like, I should just
Well, this is the thing, is do you want the appearance of randomness or do you want true randomness?
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I want it to appear. I don't know. I think I finally got it. Okay. But this is one block.
Yeah, I think, wasn't there something that was like I don't know, some program that like rolled dice or something like that, where they had to change it from being truly random to like a fake randomness because people wouldn't believe it was random because it would repeat things. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, but like that's how true randomness works, is sometimes it just repeats stuff for a while.
Yeah. Like anybody who's ever played Settlers, and you get like, have you played Settlers of Catan before?
Once.
The game? Well, there's like the whole like where it tells you the probability of a certain roll, but then there'll be like times where, you know, like an 11 is supposed to be unprobable, and then you get like so many 11s in one game, and you're like, this seems rigged because 11 should not roll this much. But that is randomness that sometimes.
Right.
It happens.
Yeah, so you'll be like, so are we going for true randomness or like the appearance of randomness? Although honestly, if a human is making it, like how random can it truly be?
Yeah. Where did my thread go?
Oh no, you sound so like distraught.
It must have fallen off and rolled somewhere because now it's gone.
Did you get your socks?
I did. Here is the sock I am working on.
It looks like funfetti cake.
Yeah, it does. I really like the color on the yarn, and it's cool because I could pick basically any color for like the heel and the toe, and it's gonna look good, you know?
Yeah.
So
I was looking at in the comments, she said she was making lavender. Are those pronounced sachets? I can never remember.
Sachet. Yeah.
And I am like wondering, do you use those for like in your drawers? Because I'm like, maybe I should make some. Like in your dresser drawers for like freshening up your clothes.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's normally what they're used for. My mom always would put bars of soap in her dresser drawers.
Oh. Smart. Kelly, were you asking about books earlier?
Oh yes, I think I got sidetracked.
We got sidetracked. I think I was probably like crying about my sweater. I am reading many things, as always. But one of the ones that I picked up more recently is I finally started the next Tuesdays in the Castle book by Jessica Day George, who just writes really lovely, cozy middle grade fantasy. And I'm only like a chapter or two into that, but it's been nice.
I never did continue that. I read the first one with my daughter, and then we didn't continue.
I think one of the reasons I put off reading the second one for so long, even though I really enjoyed the first one, is that I knew that one of the main plot lines was like waiting for this like griffin to hatch or something. And this is weirdly specific, but I find the like waiting for a magical creature to hatch plot line so boring. And I don't know why. Like I just
Is that like a regular plot line?
Yeah,
I don't feel like I've encountered that much.
It happens more than you think.
Is it like more common in middle grade, do you think?
Maybe.
Because I don't feel like I've encountered that very often, and I don't read as much middle grade as you do.
Yeah.
Like maybe it's part of a middle grade as like teaching them responsibility. I don't know.
Right. So Natalie says, doesn't use them in dresser drawers, though that is what a lot of people do. I just like to have a couple around for a whiff of a nice scent, and I give them as gifts. I like that.
Makes sense.
Hannah also loves Jessica Day George. Dragon books will always be my favorite of hers. Yeah, I really love Dragon Slippers too. I really enjoyed her Rose Legacy series, which is just a trilogy. Although I have been told that like if you're very familiar with horses and horseback riding, that there are some things that are not like 100% accurate, but I am not a horseback rider, so I didn't notice anything.
Yeah, you're not a horse girl.
No.
I think I've only read the Those ones that are like fairy tale retellings.
Yeah, the like Princess of the Midnight Ball ones.
Yeah. Yeah, I read those. Or those are more YA than middle grade, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I read those like a long time ago, but I still have them, I think. I was thinking recently I should probably reread those because like I have so many books. I feel like my reading, like I read a lot when I was in like middle school, high school, and then I didn't read anything that much in college. And then I got back into reading like after college. And now I'm like, okay, I don't remember anything that I read before this point. So I have to like go back and reread all of these things that I
Yeah.
read like, 15 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's one of the
I
ones that I was like, I should probably revisit those.
I remember the Cinderella one was my favorite in that series.
I remember the Cinderella one had like one of the doesn't like the shoe like fuse to her foot at one point.
Maybe.
I
Yeah, maybe.
just remember being like, this is a lot more intense than I was anticipating for
Yeah.
this book. But yeah, I remember liking those a lot.
Honda said those are her least favorite. I remember I really didn't like the Little Red Riding Hood that was the last one.
Mm.
I don't even remember why. I just did not enjoy it as much. And apparently when I read it, I gave it 2 stars,
Wow.
which like I don't think
Harsh.
I gave out that many 2 stars when cuz this was like way before I was on BookTube or like even knew about BookTube.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel like I gave out many really low ratings. So anytime I come across one, I'm like, "Dang, like who hurt you?" Like,
That's savage.
yeah.
I feel like I give out fewer 2 stars now than I used to. But I think that a lot of that is because I used to be much more like, I have to complete every book that I start.
Yeah.
And so if I was hating a book, I would end up rating it like 2 stars or 1 star. And now I'm much more like, if I feel like this is going to be 3 stars at best, don't even need to read it. Like, so most of my ratings end up being like 3 to and up. Most of them
Yeah.
really are more like 4 stars because I'm like, look, if I'm not enjoying it enough to give it a 4 star, I don't know why I'm reading this. So yeah, my ratings all I think skew relatively high because of that.
Well, and I also think that the more we read, the better we get at picking things that we enjoy, you know?
True. I also feel like there are just more and more options, so it's easier to
Yeah.
find things that you like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that I mentioned this to Kelly already, but I don't think I had told you, Huck. I got my mom to read T. Kingfisher.
Really?
Mission accomplished. No.
Oh my! And
And
what did she think? Because she doesn't really read fantasy, right?
no, she does not like fantasy at all, much to my disappointment. Except she loves Lord of the Rings, which I think is hilarious. But
For some
um,
reason, that's the one that like people make an
yeah,
exception for, and I'm like, I don't know why. Like, not
yeah,
that it's not good, obviously, but like,
yeah,
okay.
it's funny. But yeah, I finally got her to read Nettle and Bone
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, you will love this. Like, trust me. Like, it's got a super practical and competent woman as the main character. There's some like badass nuns that are like tangentially related to the story. I was like, I think you would maybe like the humor, and she did. I was right about everything. She really enjoyed it, and she wants to read more from her. And I'm like,
Ah,
I have achieved my goal. Like,
I feel like
Mission accomplished.
if she likes very like practical women characters, I mean, I know she doesn't really do a lot of fantasy, but I feel like she would like Lois McMaster Bujold because that is like her characters. I just always describe them as being like they're so sensible,
yeah,
just like enjoy them so much.
yeah, yeah. I still need to read her.
I really like a lot of her stuff. I recently, I'm trying to read more of the Vorkosigan saga, and I'm
Hmm.
not sure how I'm feeling. I'm like the things that I like I still like the characters a lot, but I'm not sure if I'm really vibing with the sci-fi.
Hmm.
But oh yeah, but currently reading. I actually just filmed a currently reading video. like an hour ago.
Very fresh in your mind.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, I'm reading a couple of different things technically, but my main read right now is The Dawn Stag by Jules Watson, which is part of the Del Riata trilogy. So it's a historical fiction set in like ancient Scotland, which
So
is
very on
very
brand.
up my very
Yeah.
on brand for me. I feel like I just was like looking at some of the books that I want to read soon, and I was like, I think a lot of these are in that like historical fiction, historical fantasy in like ancient Scotland, Ireland kind of like area. And I'm like, I just have a bunch of them on my TBR right now that I really want to read.
Yeah. Hannah is asking to repeat that author's name again. Because Hannah loves practical heroines.
Oh, Lois McMaster Bujold is Bujold.
Is this how you spell it, Huck?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
feel
part
like
of why I love. Oh, sorry, why I
no,
love
go
TK
ahead.
because I'm like, these are like normal people that
Yes.
are. Because I mean, there's got to be fantasy worlds where there's just like normal practical people that are like, we got to go on this quest, but like, we've got to do this in a more logical way than you like
Yeah.
fancy people. Like, you know, like there's a way to ensure that we make this happen and we do it logically.
Yeah. I still remember, like, I think Bryony and Roses might have been the first one I read from her. And I still remember that part where like she's having like the beauty character is like having that dream where she has like this vision of this handsome prince and blah blah blah. And he's like he says something to her about like, well, you can help set me free. Like, of course you want to do that, right? And she just says something, she's like, maybe not. I'll think about it. Like it was just like I was
Yeah.
like, that was so funny to me for some reason. Like, yeah. She's just so good at those characters where it's like, well, I guess I'm going on a quest because nobody else is doing it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're going to read Loaf Master Bujold, I was gonna say I do not recommend The Sharing Knife. Not a good
yeah,
series from her. That one was not great. My favorite is her Penrick and Desdemona series, which the main character is actually a guy, but he has a demon who I guess the demon has previously like kind of collected the consciousness of all of these other women that it has been like a part of. It's kind of like it's like shared their body with them, and so they like kind of continue on like keeping those like consciousnesses, and she ends up with this like younger guy, and so there's this like young guy who has this like chorus of like very practical old ladies in his head being like, okay, you need to like be more more serious about this.
I'll have to check that. Were you saying that is it the same author you were talking about that was like Ireland, or is that a different one?
No, that's a different one. The one I was talking about that I'm reading right now is Jules Watson.
Okay.
Yeah, Lois McMaster Bujold. A lot of her fantasy books are set in a fantasy world that is the realm of the five gods. And then she has a sci-fi series that I'm reading that is the Vorkosigan Saga.
Like suddenly I want to like read fantasy that's based off of like Irish.
Well, I have
I was
lots
gonna
of
say,
books.
like, Huck has some good news for you about Juliet Merlier.
Yeah, guess what?
You're gonna have to give me because I just found out last week that I'm going to Ireland in June.
Oh, exciting.
Wow.
Yeah. So my husband has a conference that he has to go to for work, and work is paying for him to fly and paying for a hotel room for a whole week. And he's like, "Well, we have flyer points. Why don't you just come with me?" And I have, we already have accommodations.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was like, "Well, what about the kids?" Well, my sister-in-law was visiting last week, and she's like, "Well, you could just bring the kids to stay with us because she's a professor, so she has summers off."
Mm.
Wow.
So they're going to take the kids, and we're going to Ireland.
Wow, that's very exciting. Have you ever been to Ireland before?
No, I've actually never been to Europe at all.
Cool.
So, well, anywhere over there. Like, all the places I've traveled are either in like North America or Australia. I have not gone to any of the like Europe, Africa, Asia area. So I'm very excited.
Yeah.
And like my daughter and I are studying the Middle Ages right now for our homeschool history. And so now I'm like, ooh, like we're gonna be in Dublin, and I heard from somebody like you can go and see the Book of Kells, and I'm like, oh, I like need to do all the like Middle Ages Ireland stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be that geek.
I love it though.
But I can do whatever I want because he's gonna be at a conference for like 8 hours every day.
Yeah.
So I have to do my own sightseeing and figure it out for myself.
Well, as always, definitely recommend Juliet Marillier. It's a great author to read for that. Because, yeah, a lot of her books, like the Seven Water series and her Blackthorn and Grimm trilogy, are both set in like early medieval, maybe slightly pre-medieval Ireland. And it's like historical fantasy.
Yeah. I loved the first Blackthorn and Grimm book. I need to continue that series.
Also one that has a very practical female main character.
I was just thinking that.
Very like no nonsense, takes no shit, like kind of person.
Yeah.
All right.
And because like at first, like it took me a little while to get attached to the main characters. Because she is very like the main female character is, for very good reason, really like closed off.
Yeah, she's very prickly as a person.
Very prickly, yeah.
Yeah.
And she could be kind of like abrasive in ways that to me felt like, at first I was like, okay, you're just like being a mean person, you know, you're just like, but then it's like by a certain point in the book, it's like, oh no, you're like one of those people who's like, I am always going to do the right thing, but I will yell at you while I do it.
Right. Yeah, one of the things I thought was interesting about her character also, as like, because she is a healer, as a lot of Juliet Marillier's characters are, but she's like a very different vibe than a lot of other healer characters. Because I feel like a lot of healers are very like, I just want to help people and heal and like all of that. And Blackthorn is very just like, please leave me alone. But if you are dying, I will save you from yourself, but I'll be mad about it. Like, and I will tell you how stupid you are for getting yourself in this situation.
Yes.
Why did you even do this to begin with?
Yeah. She's like angry about it, but she's also like, I won't let you die. Oh my god.
Yeah. She's like that meme that's like, ugh, what is this? And it's like, affection. Gross. Do it again. Like she's
Oh goodness. Okay. I guess I'm at the part where I have to pay attention to my seams. Wow.
Oh no.
Because uh-oh. I'm just trying to figure out if I was supposed to iron these open. There's the only problem with quilting. It's like you have to like pay attention to where your seams are, what you're doing with them.
What is
if you want to be a good quilter. Look, when I was like working on my quilt, at the end I was like, hey look, the corners lined up. That was not on purpose, but I'm glad it looks good.
Yeah.
I just was like making it and hoping for the best and being like, if it doesn't line up, I'm not redoing it.
I was just thinking earlier about how, like, if we ever did merch or something, it'd be like one of them would have to be like, gauge swatch with your heart. Like,
right.
Well, I just found out I accidentally did it right because it says to press them all clockwise, and I magically did that.
Good.
Too genius.
Without even knowing that was
you're just
I love
so
those
good.
Like, I accidentally did it right.
Yeah.
Yep. And I was almost thinking if I didn't do it right, was I actually going to restart it? Like, probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, did I ever mention what I was reading? I guess I didn't mention what I was reading because we started talking about details. I haven't read much the last couple days because I've been obsessed with this trip and like what I'm gonna pack and like all that. But I am listening to a middle grade. Where did I put my needle? Okay. Paolo Santiago,
Oh
the
yeah.
second book in that series. And that's like fantasy. Yeah, and so I'm enjoying listening to that. I've forgotten how like much I'm enjoying that series because I took a while before like coming to the second book. But like now I'm like, oh, I really enjoy the way she writes these stories. Like the characters are just good and like the way the action is done, because sometimes those middle grade like action books can have like too much action and not enough character. So I like the balance. And then I've been trying to make more progress on the Immortals Quartet because I had done it as my like nighttime book, but it was taking me too long. And so now I've actually started reading it during the day too.
Mm-hmm.
So this has become my physical book. I'm on book 3 because I don't want to do like last time where I took forever and then like took forever in between the books. So I'm like, I just need to read book 3 and 4 close by each other so I don't go, what's happening? What's going on?
Yeah, what are you thinking of it? Tamara Pierce was like the author that like got me into reading and fantasy as a child. So I like love her books. And The Immortals is one of my favorite series from her.
Yeah, I'm liking this one so far. I mean, I'm still towards the beginning. I'm only like 80 pages in, which I guess is not too beginning. That's 1/3 almost. I'm liking this one, but like I loved the first one. What's the first one? Wild Magic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Love that one. The Wolf Speaker was not great for me. It took me a long time to get into it. I didn't really love that one, but I am liking kind of like what's happening in this one so far. So I think I'm gonna like this one better than that one.
I feel like that series is one of the things that started my love of badgers.
Yeah. Yeah, I wondered because like you have the book up there.
Yeah, I had like older editions, like oh my god, I just like yanked my laptop. The editions that I read as a kid are these ones, which I like the cover art that these have. But I more recently like bought the newer editions that have like the badger on the cover just because I wanted the badger.
Yeah.
It's so cute. Like that cover is so cute with the badger.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for your badger vlog, Huck.
Oh my god. I know. I have to do that. I don't know if I told you about this, but I had a plan that I wanted to read books that had badgers in them as just like that's the theme, no other connection between the books. We're just anything that has a prominent badger.
I mean that makes sense as part of your video. Like how many books have badgers in them?
Not that many. That's part of the problem.
This is literally the only book I know of that has a badger.
Well, okay. I feel like the Clockwork Boys series would count.
That is
of
on
the Knowles.
my list. I probably have enough books to do a vlog because I probably have at least 3 that I can think of that have badgers in them. So I should do it. I'm so bad at doing vlogs. Like I have all these plans and then I'm like, this would require me to actually make a plan and then actually read the books from that plan.
Yeah. I mean,
in a timely manner.
Because I am also terrible at finishing vlogs in a timely manner.
I like abandoned a vlog like a month or so ago. Yeah. And that was like the first vlog I had done for probably 6 months or something. And I was like, oh, I'll do a vlog. Nope.
Oh yeah, people are talking about Redwall. I read Redwall as a kid also. Maybe also one of the things that influenced my love of badgers. I do love the badgers in that one. Although they're a little bit scarier because they essentially have like berserk mode where they get like the red haze comes over them and they just like kill people in battle. So the badgers were a little more intense in Redwall, but they were cool.
Berserk badgers, yikes.
I mean, yeah, they were warriors. They were intense, but I liked the badgers a lot. There were also some, I think there was one named Constance who was like a nun or something. I don't know.
A badger nun.
Have you read Redwall?
I have not.
I feel like if you don't mind characters that are animals, because sometimes people don't like that, but if you don't mind it, it's great because it's all about like this little like abbey in the forest where all of the like monks and nuns are woodland creatures, and it's adorable.
I've thought about trying them. My brother really liked them when he was younger, and I think I sort of tangentially knew a little bit about them, and I think he watched the show sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've been curious. Like, actually, that would be like a cool. I don't know. Talking about like vlogs that sound cool and I probably would never do. Like, never actually finish. Like books that I should have been super into as a kid, but I just didn't like know about or didn't read. Because that would be one. I feel like the Giver series by Lois Lowry would be one.
Oh, I read that. Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, there's another one I was just thinking of. What was it? Maybe Anne Rinaldi, because she's like she actually just died recently, and I've never read a book from her, but like
I
she's
don't
like
think I know who that is.
she was like the gateway drug for a lot of kids who got into historical fiction. And I love historical fiction, but I just
What are
never read
the
her
books?
It's not like a series. She wrote like a bunch of different standalones, but like they tended to be something else I think is interesting is they tended to be like American.
So Giselle just mentioned that is literally the book that inspired this idea because I saw that and I was like, oh no, I have to read this.
Whoa.
I was thinking about that with the hot and badgered.
That is truly what inspired the concept of this video because I just was like, what? Like, when else am I going to read this book?
Yeah, we're
that
so
I also
instinct,
have
Giselle.
to.
I love that you've actually that you like have knowledge about that one and you've read it. Natalie says, should you ever do a badger vlog? Maybe also a nonfiction book about badgers too, even a short one
I
for
have
kids.
a nonfiction book about badgers, as a matter of fact. So I am prepared for that.
Is there a badger in The Wind in the Willows? It seems like there should
is. Well, actually, now I'm trying to think. Did I ever actually read the book, or did I just watch the movie? Because I know I watched the movie as a kid.
I read the book as a kid, but I have not read it as an adult, but I feel like it should have a badger.
There is a badger, I'm pretty positive. All right, well, maybe I'll have to actually do this.
We've all peer pressured you into doing your badger vlog.
I also think I'm not good at doing those kind of vlogs that are like I'm reading the books not necessarily because I think I will like them so much as because they like fit a theme or a concept. And I'm always really bad at committing to doing those, you know? Because it's not like I would get a book that I'm like, oh, I think I'm gonna hate this, but I don't know, you know?
Yeah. Giselle was listening to the audiobook in public and it literally made her gasp out loud because someone ripped someone's head off or something.
Oh, I thought it was going to make you gasp because of like a spicy scene.
I know. I was like, please don't tell me there was like, I know. I was like, please don't tell me there was like badger foreplay or something.
Oh my God. I don't want it to get into like bestiality.
I know.
It's a badger romance that's that gory. I don't think I want to read a romance that has people doing that or badgers doing that or anything.
Oh my God.
It does not seem romantic.
You know, maybe they are defending their love. Who knows? You know what I learned recently? This is only tangentially related to badgers, but I recently found out that baby cheetahs have evolved to have coloring that looks very similar to a honey badger from the top, so that when birds of prey fly over, they don't try to steal and eat the baby cheetahs because they don't mess with honey badgers because they're mean. And then as they grow, they get like more regular, cheetah spots. But I did not know that they made themselves look like honey badgers to camouflage themselves.
Wow. It's like when you're like an apex predator, but you're still not as scary as a honey badger.
Right? Skunk and
Giselle hasn't
Badger.
read Skunk and Badger by Amy Timberlake, but it looks
Okay,
so
I
good.
don't think I know that one, so I'm gonna have to look that up.
That one I almost read with my daughter because it's like an early chapter book.
Also, didn't what's her name? Catherine and Valente come out with a children's book last year that has a badger in it?
Osmo Unknown and the Eight Penny Woods. I was just thinking, I'm like, there was like a recent release that I remember like telling you about that had a badger in it. So
I actually have like a running list. I probably have a bunch of like options for this. I just need to like get myself together, which is always the hard part.
Natalie, I agree. A brilliant evolutionary result. I ordered some very pretty yarn the other day because it was recently Pi Day, like 3.14. And unbeknownst to me until that day, basically, because I only just started realizing that there's like yarn and crafting communities on Instagram, which is like obvious, but I just hadn't found them yet. So like I didn't think about it. So I wasn't like following any of the people who were involved in this like project. But it turns out a bunch of like small independent like yarn dyers all collaborated on like a Pi Day like collection. They called it like Pi Day potluck or something. And so they all created a yarn that's like inspired by a different pie. And it was like so cute and so cool. So I ordered some pie themed yarn.
What
And actually,
pie themes did you get?
there's like some really like beautiful like purple ones. So like it was like a blackberry pie, and then one of the ones I got that I'm really excited for is like pistachio rose. So it's like speckled like cream with like green and pink, and it's really pretty.
Pretty.
Yeah. And one of them actually, like, I was on their website like for the Pi Day thing, and I was like, oh, look at some of the other stuff they have, because if like I'm ordering, I only want to pay shipping once. So I was like looking, and they had this like art, like I forget what it was called, but like this like art themed collection. I'm like, that's a cool idea. So I like click on it and I'm looking through, and I'm like, wait a second, I recognize this painting. And it was by Artemisia Gentileschi, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm buying this yarn too. Like, I have to. It was very exciting for me. I like recognized it on site. It wasn't even her like really famous one. It was the Yael and Sisera one.
You just reminded me that there was a recipe that I wanted to come back and look for, because it was I think it was like a pistachio matcha raspberry sugar cookie.
Ooh.
Which I like saw a video on Instagram about it, but it didn't have the recipe, and it was like recipe coming soon. So I was like, oh god, I have to like go back and look for it sometime. But I think that the recipe is here now, and so now I have to go like find it, because it's the same like color scheme of that like raspberry and green coloring.
Yeah.
And it just sounds really good. Also, now I want to make pie. I used to be like in high school, I had a huge like pie making phase. I was like very into making pies. I like any opportunity, I made pies, and I tried making all different kinds of pies and all kinds of stuff. And I was very into celebrating Pie Day. And also, I would be like, any kind of thing. I was like, can I turn this into a pie? Like, those cookies that like the macaroon cookies that are like coconut?
Yes.
I made like a macaroon pie, which was essentially just like that kind of cookie, like in a pie shape, in a pie shell.
I love it.
And also it was blue, but
oh gosh. Interesting. I used to like to make pies. And I make them sometimes now, but making pie crust seems to take a lot more time than I remember it doing before. And
Yeah.
maybe just because I had a lot more extra time when I didn't have like kids demanding my attention.
I feel like the frustrating thing about pie crust too is that like sometimes it turns out and sometimes it doesn't, and you have like there's nothing you can do about it. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like there's things that help that you can do, but like I swear it also has to be related to like air temperature or humidity or something, because there are times when it's like I do everything exactly the same, and sometimes it's like a beautiful masterpiece of a pie crust, and sometimes it's like I hate this, I never want to bake again. Like
I really want like a berry pie now, because honestly, like I learned how to make a whole bunch of different pies, and I was like, I think that a good like mixed berry pie with like raspberry, blackberry is just like the best kind of pie. It's not complicated, but it's so good.
yeah. I think my favorite is apple, but then whenever I have like blueberry pie, I'm like maybe this is my favorite.
I don't like blueberries, but
Well, blueberry pie is not my favorite.
I also love key lime pie.
Ooh,
That's just great.
yes.
I love lime. Lime is just good.
Yes,
It's just
it
one of my
is.
favorites.
I have a question that seems
Oh, I
unrelated,
have
but
made an apple berry pie that is also very good, because you get like
ooh,
the structure and
yes.
crunch of the
Yeah.
apple, but the flavor of the
Yes.
berry is a great combination.
Yeah.
Apple and berry is a superior combination.
Yeah. My go-to is an apple strawberry pie, because then you get like the tart and the
Mm,
sweet and everything together.
Yeah.
yeah. That is the problem. Like my favorite, like flavor wise, is like raspberry and blackberry, but those really break down and just turn into mush pretty easily.
Yes,
So
they
it's good to
do.
mix them with something that has a little more structure.
Yeah. This is going to sound random, but it
Mm,
actually is related to what we're talking about. Do
okay.
you do you use stitch markers in crochet?
Only recently have I started doing that.
Okay.
But yes, I have a stitch marker in this. Well, this is not really what it's for, but I have a stitch marker right here to indicate where the sleeve starts, like where
Right.
on the other side, so that when I sew up the side, it'll like the seam will stop at the right place and I'll start the sleeve. But I do also use stitch markers, especially when I am making like making those little like plushy stuffed animals. I used
Mhm.
stitch markers a lot for that, because you had to like really carefully count like the number of
Right,
stitches and
right.
the increases and decreases, and did you start this round at the right place, and like all of that. um Although for that I normally would use, sometimes I was making things that were like so tiny that I couldn't
Mhm.
use like one of these like plastic stitch
Mhm.
markers. So I got like little metal jump rings that you use for jewelry, and would just like use those because they were tiny enough.
Okay. Okay.
Anyways, that was more of an explanation than you probably needed.
No, no, I find that
But
so
yes.
interesting. Like, do you like the ring kind or the like clasp kind better?
I don't know if I have a strong feeling about it. I guess I like the rings a little bit more, just because I feel like the ones that are like kind of like a plastic safety pin are a little bit clunky, and
Mm,
also sometimes they pop open.
okay. Oh, Hannah says has to go to dinner, but this has been a lot of fun and extremely productive, so thank you. Thank you for being here. I'm
Uh,
so glad you could make this one. I know it's harder with other time zones, so I
Yeah.
was glad you
Hopefully
were
you
able
got to
to hang
mend a
out.
lot.
Hopefully what?
You got to mend a lot. Because it was
Yes. Yes. I think I'm almost to the point where I can start the toe of my sock. Very exciting.
ooh.
Also, look at my cute little measuring tape that I got recently. It's
Oh.
Oh,
like little like farmers market themed, and it's one of those that like goes like that. So
Hmm.
look at me all fancy.
Having an actual measuring tape.
I know.
I feel like I should be penning this, but I really don't want to, so I'm not going to.
Living on the edge.
I am. I'm just
Got
gonna
a bunch of wild ones here.
Yeah.
But so what was the stitch marker question? Where's that coming from?
So now I feel like I should surprise you though.
What?
And Kelly, what did you say your favorite kind of pie was?
pie,
Yeah.
peach.
Ah.
I don't think I said that, but I would say peach is probably my favorite.
Okay.
But I mean, really, any pie.
not gonna tear down pie, like.
Yeah. I don't really like meringue pies.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I'm not big into that. Also, I do not like banana pie thing. Like I just don't like bananas. So
Me
like
neither.
any of those like banana themed pies, I'm just like,
Yeah,
no.
me neither.
I also don't like it when people are like, oh, you can just substitute banana for eggs. And I'm like, no, because then it tastes like banana. And I don't want that. People are like, you can't even taste it. And I'm like, untrue.
People don't understand that when you dislike or hate a food, you can taste it a lot easier than if you like it. Like, you know, it just, that's how it works.
Yeah.
Like those people that tell me that, like, if you use coconut water or coconut milk in something that it doesn't taste like coconut, I'm like, you lie.
Yeah. I mean, I like coconut flavor, but like you immediately taste coconut when you put coconut in stuff.
Right.
That's just not true.
Yeah, like people will be like, oh, if you don't like coconut, you won't notice it in coconut milk if it's like in a dish. And I'm like, you most certainly will taste coconut in a dish. Like it is.
Yeah. I also see, this is the other thing. This is a little tangent, but it's about pie. The other thing that I like about fruit pies is that they're very easy to alter for like any food allergies. Because something like, you know, like key lime pie, you have to use condensed milk. So if someone can't have milk, you can't make key lime pie. I mean, there might be some way to do it, but it's much more difficult. But like a fruit pie, you don't have to, like, it's so easy. Like, it doesn't contain eggs, it doesn't contain dairy, or it doesn't have to. It's very easy to like make swaps, you know, for things like that. So if you ever have to like alter it for stuff like that, it's so much easier with a fruit pie, which is very nice.
Yeah. That is true.
But have you ever made a gluten-free pie? Because then you'd have to do it with like almond flour or something, right?
You can. There are gluten-free flours that are much more like one-to-one, like a regular flour. The thing is that you can't do the crust in the same way, like, because it doesn't have gluten in it to keep it all together. It doesn't have that kind of binder. It doesn't like stretch and stick together in the same way. So you kind of have to do the pie crust more like a pressed pie crust. So where you do like a crumble and then like kind of press it into the sides.
A cookie kind of crust kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah, which like it can, and that is a little more hit or miss to me actually, because sometimes it can get like tough easily if you overwork it. Because you're like pressing it into interaction with the dough a lot more, and it's much more difficult to do like a rolled top crust because it will crack most of the time when you are trying to transfer it from like rolling it to the top of the crust. So if I'm doing like a gluten-free pie, I usually do more like a crumble top.
Yeah, makes sense.
Or I feel like you could potentially do, you know, those kind of pie crusts where it's like a bunch of small shapes that you then like layer around like in concentric circles. It's like fancy looking, but like, like you do like little cookie cutter things and then you layer them all. Like I feel like you might be able to do something like that because the pieces are so much smaller that it's less likely to crack with gluten-free crust. It's just like when you try and roll it into like a large piece that is so hard to keep it together. I've never tried that, but I feel like that might be a good solution actually. I'm like so confused, the combination of pies and stitch markers. Like what is this? Mean.
It's not like a big deal, but now I kind of feel like I want to surprise you guys. So I lied to you. I'm sorry. I won't be telling you yet.
Okay.
Forget we had this conversation.
Okay, this one I have to pin. Okay. The only problem with like working on one block is I have to get up and iron all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm like, can I just accomplish one block? Can I do it? But now there's like multiple seams, so I have to actually pin this.
Oy.
All right. I feel like I'm ready. Last seam.
Yes. Actually, it would be great if I could get the body part of, like, the foot of the sock done before we finish here. We were talking about doing about a 2-hour sprint, or yeah, 2-hour live show total. So probably about half an hour left just for you guys following along. We also didn't even throw in a cursory reading sprint this time. I'm sorry.
Well, it's crafting month, not reading month.
That's
so.
right.
Exactly. This weekend, I have been watching the new season of Shadow and Bone, which I'm assuming you were not watching.
Correct.
But like, I loved season 1. I'm not sure how I feel about season 2 so far. It is honestly like I only care about what the crows are doing. I really don't care about, which is like
Sorry.
Which is kind of like how I felt with the books, where I'm like, I don't really care about what,
Yeah.
the Shadow and Bone part of the plot with like Alina and the Darkling and Mal. And I'm like, but like in the first season, I feel like they did a better job of like getting me on board with that plot line, even though I didn't really care about them that much. And this season, I'm just like, I only care about the crows. I want to just skip through the parts that aren't about them because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
My husband and I are watching that.
Oh, really?
We have one episode of season 1 left.
Okay.
And then
what are you thinking of season 1?
So I'm pretty similar. So when I read the books, I was similar to Carol, that I read Shadow and Bone and thought it was all right. It was like 3 stars for me. Hated Alina. Like, that's part of why I was 3 star. I was like, oh my gosh, girl, can you just like make every single wrong decision? And
Yeah.
Any stupider? Like, go. And so she drove me nuts. So then I started the second book, whatever that's called, and quit halfway through because I was like, everybody always talk about what's his name that people
Nikolai.
like. Yeah, and so I was like, well, I'll get to him. And I'm like, no, he cannot save this.
Yeah.
And so I never read Six of Crows because I never got through Grishaverse. But then I was like, well, the show looks interesting. I'm just going to watch the show because I don't care that much about reading the books at this point. So I started the show, and now I want to read Six of Crows because I love all of those characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to like follow them. And so now I'm like, oh, I'm going to read Six of Crows now probably. But I do not want to go back to Shadow and Bone because even in the show, my husband and I both are like, Alina, you're so stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and truly, they like made her better in the show. Like, they made all of the characters better in the show than they were in the Shadow and Bone trilogy. They're still annoying, but Six of Crows is great. Like the books are definitely like, because they're the what's happening in the show, a lot of that like doesn't happen in the books because this is sort of like prequel content to the books.
Yeah.
But if you enjoy the Crows, definitely.
Yeah, that's why
read
I figured
that.
I could still read the book, because I kind of figured that this wasn't actually like what's happening in the books, that these are just
Yeah.
the characters. And so like I was like, okay, I can still read the books and it's fine, but I don't ever really plan on reading Shadow and Bone because Alina just really drives me nuts.
There's no need to,
I
honestly.
hated Mal so much. Like I want that man to be exiled at least. Like
Like from the book.
yeah, I just like, oh my god, I
I
hate
can't.
him with the fire of 1,000 suns. Like I
Did
hate
you read
Alina
the whole
too.
series
I
or just the?
did. I was stupid and I did.
They do make him a little better in the show, but
I mean,
I like him
they
in the show.
still.
couldn't really make him worse, could they?
Well, they could have just like not changed him at all.
I
It's
guess.
like
I
I mean,
guess.
I would say I like him fine in the show.
Yeah.
Um, he doesn't have a lot of like personality beyond Alina, but
Yeah.
like I mean, I like him fine, but I'm not enjoying like the Darkling or her and
And
their storyline.
he's just such a whiny little bitch because like he's he's like crying about, okay, I guess like minor spoilers for the Grisha trilogy if people watching this later haven't read them or seen them. But like he is so freaking insecure about Alina having more powers than him, and he just like consistently is like an asshole about it. Like ugh, I hate him so much. I also hate when like there's that usually male character who like the female character is desperately in love with for so long and he like never notices her, but then as soon as like one other guy shows like interest in her, he's like, well wait, she's mine if I want her. Like, and that was Mal for me. I hate him. I hate him so much.
Yeah. I just
Yeah,
remember being kind of like, all right, he doesn't need to be here.
Yeah.
I can't remember in the books, this is probably spoilery, but I don't remember if like if they liked each other beforehand and
They were
like
friends.
unrequited. Like yeah, I couldn't tell
Yeah,
remember if
it was very like they were childhood friends. That was
Yeah.
his opinion.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Did
she had
she
a
like
crush.
him? I can't remember.
She had
Yeah.
a crush on him for a long time,
Okay.
and he was like, I don't know if he like was genuinely unaware or if he just like didn't really care, which like obviously not that he's required to reciprocate. I just like really hate when a character like won't give somebody the time of day until another person shows interest in them, who usually seems to like and respect them much more as a person, and he's like, well wait, I have dibs. Like
I'm not sure if
I,
we can make the claim that the Darkling likes and
Yeah.
respects
no, no,
Alina
no, no,
more.
I meant Nikolai. I meant Nikolai.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't think so either.
But yeah.
Because that's why
I
after watching the show, like people that are all like Team Darkling, I'm like, really? Really? Like this guy just not, and maybe he's different later on, but I'm like, I'm not enjoying him right now.
Yeah.
yeah. I feel like so far, like in the second season, I'm not gonna like spoil anything, but they introduce like another character that in the books is part of the Crows, but wasn't in the first season of the show, but he's in the second season. And I'm like, I love the character in the books, but I'm like, I don't know if I like how they're doing it in the show. And I'm like, have very mixed feelings about it.
Mm.
I do also have this like issue with this is the same reason why I don't get Raylo fiction.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna say like who, because that could be spoiler because it's later in the like probably later on. But like I cannot get behind any relationship where somebody has tortured the other person.
Mm.
Like I could be like, okay, you could work together towards a goal because like you know, find that you have the same common enemy, but like falling in love after you've been tortured by somebody does not work for me.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I have maybe seen versions of that that convinced me in the end, but it's definitely rare. And I think a lot of it too would depend on factors like very specific to that book or story. Yeah. Hello. So Serenity's reading journey says, joining kind of late, but hi, what are you lovely ladies working on? I'm working on a cross stitch. Nice. Do we want to talk real
I feel
quick
like we have
about
a lot
your...
of cross stitch going on.
I know, I like that.
Yeah. Are we introducing projects again?
Yeah,
All
show
right.
off your project
Do like
again.
a progress report.
Yes.
I'm almost done with my blocks. You guys go first.
Okay.
Okay.
We can actually show.
I am still working on a very large and heavy sweater. And I had to rip out, part of a sleeve. And so I'm trying to rebuild the sleeve. I think it was more like here before.
Yeah,
So
you got a
been
good
making
amount
some
done.
good progress.
Yeah. And I spent the first part of our sprints weaving in a bunch of ends on this project. And now what I'm working on is a sock that I'm knitting. And I think I'll have to measure again, but I think I might actually be ready to move on to the toe. So I also feel good about that.
Yeah.
I'm not ready. Hold on.
That's all right. Take your time.
I'm hand quilting, but I'm almost done with this block, so I could actually show you all what the project is like. And I just finished. I just need to iron it open, and then
Yeah.
you can see it.
The thing that's nice about doing the sleeve is that it's like a narrower part of this. And so I'm like, wow, I've made so much progress, but that's because I'm only going this far around.
I know.
Instead of like a giant like body of the sweater.
Yeah.
I haven't decided yet though how I'm going to do the ribbing on the sleeve, because the ribbing on the rest of the sweater that I've done is like a single crochet ribbing. So let's see if I can show you. It looks like this. So it's like a loose ribbing. It's not like a really tight ribbing, which I wanted for this because it's meant to just kind of be like a large slouchy kind of shape. I don't want it to be too fitted. However, I did kind of want the cuffs of this. I kind of wanted sleeves a little bit like the ones I'm wearing right now, except like these have stretched out.
Yeah.
So like a little bit tighter. And so I'm trying to decide, like, do I just do the single crochet ribbing, which won't tighten it a lot, but it'll match all of the other ribbing, or do I do like a slip stitch crochet, like ribbing, which I have an example of. This is much smaller yarn, but like it looks more like this. It's like much more like compact and stretches a lot more, so it would make like a tighter cuff, but it would look different from the rest of the sweater ribbing. So I don't know.
I would say that since you're going to be doing it on both sleeves, that it would still look symmetrical. Like, I don't think it's a problem to have the neck and the sleeves look different. I think if it was between one sleeve and the other, that would be noticeable. But like personally, I think that would just look like, yeah, you have a neckline that is a specific thing, and then your sleeves look different. I don't think that would be, like, personally, I don't think that would be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true, because on the sleeves, because like the collar and like the bottom of the sweater will both be like the wider ribbing, but maybe I'll do the cuffs as like a tighter ribbing.
Yeah.
Just because I don't want it to be like too, like, I want the sweater to be slouchy, but I want to have like it be tighter at the wrist, or be able to easily like push it up so that I can do things.
Yeah. Giselle's done about 70 stitches, 0.03%.
Oh gosh.
Stitch.
Do you like know exactly how many stitches you have to do so you can like calculate?
Very
wow.
Serenity never learned how to knit but can crochet. Yeah, I cannot crochet.
So here.
Ooh.
Oh, I like the colors a lot.
Yes, that's really pretty.
Very
so
cool.
At least doing one makes me feel like accomplished. So basically all I've been doing is doing this thing where this triangle with the edges, but I was like, okay, there you can see what they're gonna look like.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like that a lot.
I think that's gonna be really pretty as like a whole quilt.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it'll just be all random, like all like completely
Mhm.
random coloring. So
That's
yeah.
super pretty.
But from now on, I'm just going to do it in batches because it's easier to
Yeah.
just do one thing at a time because then
Yeah.
Yes.
you don't have to
Do
get up
like
and iron.
assembly line style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You only have to do one activity.
Yes. I've got like all this junk because when I go to my hand quilting class, my daughter comes and she likes to make things out of like random fabric pieces. So I just have this like pile of random fabric that's like her play stuff.
Yeah.
But she really loves to come with and hang out with all the ladies. It's so cute.
Aw. Giselle said it's an app called Pattern Keeper. It tells you your progress and highlights your stitches. It's amazing.
Whoa, that's awesome.
Oh,
That
that
is
sounds
very
very
cool.
cool.
I might have to check that out. I want to go back to cross stitching at some point, but I was trying to do like a big project and I should have started smaller because it felt super intimidating to start.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did like one small project and then I think I got over ambitious and did like a larger project that had like a bunch of different colors that were also like it was a bunch of different colors but they were all kind of different shades of the same color.
Yeah.
So it just I got like halfway through and I still have the same all the stuff so I could technically finish it but I have forgotten where I am in it. So
Yeah.
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 I always like because I don't have that app, but that app would be nice. Like what I always did was take a highlighter and I would highlight on the, the diagram you follow. I would highlight when I've done something, so that would help me keep track of where I was. But
yeah,
it still felt like a lot.
Yeah.
To do this big
I
thing.
feel like I always want to get into like embroidery because it looks so cool, but I don't know if that's like gonna be a medium for me, I'm trying to avoid saying like I don't know if I have the patience for it when it comes to like crafts because I really believe that like if you enjoy it, it doesn't require
Mhm.
patience,
Mhm.
because there are a lot of crafts that I do that people will be like, wow, I don't have the patience to do that. And I'm like, that's because you don't think it's fun. Like,
Yeah.
I have the
Well,
patience to do this because it's not patience. I'm having a good time.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
it's so that kind of like language reminds me of like when you tell people you read this many and they're like, oh, I don't have time to read, and I'm like, do you watch TV?
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. It's
Yeah,
about like prioritizing things.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's
you don't have
always
time.
it's always kind of like it feels like there's this underlying like well if you were as busy as me you couldn't read either, you know what I mean,
Oh
like
yeah.
it's like
There,
I just don't have time to kill like that, and it's like no, but like I we prioritize different things, like
right.
everybody has stuff going on, like it's just
Yeah, I
about
mean, I'm sure there's probably some person in the world who truly does not have time or whatever,
Yeah.
but
right,
like
right,
99% of people, I'm like, look, it just if you don't want to prioritize it, that's one thing. But
yeah,
like it's not like you can't, it's just
yeah,
how you decide to spend your
Mhm.
time.
Yeah, and there's plenty of people I'm sure that are super busy, that are working several jobs, that are like, going to school and work. Those, like, I totally get it. But like, there are people that I'm like, I know you watch this TV show because you just spent this entire like thing talking about this TV show. So don't tell me you don't have time to read. You're just choosing something else.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
I also like I was just talking to somebody recently about this or like someone was asking me about like, oh, how much do you read and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, I wish I had your discipline. And I'm like, my problem is that I do not have the discipline to not spend all my time reading.
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, this little, that sewing thing I was telling you about. So this is at my church, and it's like, it's not all ladies. There's one man that comes, but like, it's mostly like a group of ladies getting together, and one of them has a I think she's 6th grade, and she comes And sometimes she sews, but sometimes she like sneaks her book out from under the like table and is like reading her fantasy book. She's like reading, I know, actually she's reading The Bear and the Nightingale, which I'm like, okay, for a sixth grader. That's an
Interesting.
interesting
Okay.
choice. But whatever. But she was reading the Keeper of the Lost Cities like earlier as like one of the things she was reading. So she's like reading her book and sneaking, and her mom's like, "You need to be working on your project." I'm like, let the poor girl just read.
Let her read. Let her read. I love that. Jen says, I embroider and it's an easy craft to get into. It requires less focus than knitting or cross stitch. No counting involved. I really love it. Yeah, the only embroidery I've ever done, which I guess is not embroidery, the only needlework I've ever done has been cross stitch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and you can embroider and cross stitch. Like there are like embellishments, but it's not like overall embroidery.
Right.
But like you
Yeah.
can incorporate it. I should grab it because it's right behind me. But I got an embroidery kit for Christmas. Are you gonna be able to see into my really messy closet if I do this?
We'll all look away.
Like
Yeah,
pay
the
no
other
attention
thing,
to my closet
right?
where I throw like everything. But this is like a gift I got for Christmas. The embroidery kit.
Oh, that's cute. I love bee motifs.
Yeah. So obviously I haven't opened it or started it.
Well, maybe you could do that on a crafting sprint.
Yeah, maybe next time. I would have to find where my hoop is. Oh wait, it comes with a hoop.
Oh my
It
gosh.
doesn't even look like it should have a hoop in it. It's so small, but
I
it's
thought of everything.
Yeah. So I have no excuse.
We expect to see you working on that next time, Kelly.
Exactly.
I should do that because I wanted to try it, and so that's why I asked for, I asked for random craft projects for Christmas, and that's like what my sister-in-law gave me, and I'm like, yeah, I would like to just try it.
Yeah. Cool.
It does look really pretty.
Yeah.
See if I enjoy it.
Also, just back to the conversation I was having with someone about who's like, I wish I had your discipline. I was trying to, like, I generally don't just like tell people about my channel because it like gets into a weird conversation.
Yes.
But so I was trying to explain how I was like, well, I have a lot of friends who read, and so that's very motivating to read a lot too, because then like I get a lot of recommendations, and then they want to know like what I thought of a book, and I want to read things so I can talk to them about it. So I was just trying to explain like the motivation that comes from having a YouTube channel, and being like, a lot of my friends are really into reading.
Yeah. That's really funny. Like describing BookTube without mentioning the tube part. It's
right.
like
Yeah. I mean, it's not inaccurate because I have BookTube friends who read, and so we talk about books.
Right.
But,
It's
like,
not a lie.
Yeah.
I just have never met these people in person, but they are my friends.
Yeah.
Right.
Jen says, that's a cute embroidery kit. I subscribe to an embroidery monthly subscription, and she sends you the pre-printed fabric and the thread. It's called Cozy Blue Stitch Club. I highly recommend. That does sound really fun.
That sounds cool.
That is neat. I think this came, I don't know about the brand, but this came from like a magazine that we subscribe to called Taproot that is like, it's like very, very hygge, I would say. Like it's like recipes from like natural, like farm type ingredients, and then it has like these kind of like handcrafts and stuff like that. And then on their website you can buy kits for their crafts from the magazine. And I should have been reading this for our short readathon because it has like, like little articles and stuff that people write for it.
Yeah.
And it's very cozy.
Yeah.
But I'll have to write down that. I'm gonna take a picture of my screen so it might look funny because I'm gonna take a picture of that.
Oh no, I always do that.
Cross stitch thing or I lost the comments. What did I do? I broke it. Uh-oh. I just shouldn't do technology. Okay. All right. Yeah. So now I can look it up because if I like that embroidery kit, I'll need to know where to get more.
Yes. Natalie says, not a BookTube creator, but I refer to all my online book faves as my book people.
Oh, that's very cute.
I love that. Yes. My book people. Yeah. I know it's funny, like I'll find myself too kind of like talking around the fact that I'm on booktube. It's like
Yeah.
somebody's like, "Oh, like where do you get all of these books that you read and you hear about?" And I'm like, "Well, I was like, I read reviews online and yeah, like I find them. I find recommendations from people." Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I was telling somebody about my channel. Oh, it was the ladies at the Y. I like have a workout class at the Y I go to, and the ladies next to me, they always talk about books, and I'm always like, oh, I read that book, or I know about that author, and like I'm talking to them, and I don't know how it came up where I just mentioned that, oh, I reviewed that on my channel or something, and she's like, you have a channel, and I'm like, oh gosh, and so then I had to like tell her my channel. I'm like, oh gosh, this lady I know in like real life is gonna be
yeah.
watching my channel.
Yeah, I know. I try not to have my two worlds collide. Like,
Yeah, same.
yeah.
Oh my god, that is a thing I was thinking about recently. So for my most recent, for my new job, I have to get like a background check, and I was like, I wonder if they're gonna find my channel. Like,
Like an FBI agent is just watching your booktube channel.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's the thing is that I'm like, I mean, it's not like that would do anything to my background check because like, what are they gonna learn that I like don't leave my house and I read books? Like,
Yeah, it's not
very
like
suspicious.
you're out there doing weird content on your YouTube.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like because there's a lot of stuff about like, oh, if you're having a background check, you should have all your social medias on private and like all of this. Because when they do a background check, I think they only can like look at what's publicly available and stuff. And I'm like, I mean, I'm not real worried about if what they see on my channel because
Yeah.
it's just books and like sometimes dogs.
Books and dogs. Yep. Yep.
How is your new job going?
It's good. I mean, everyone's very nice. I feel like I'm starting to settle in a little bit more. I
Mhm.
am like, I can't get super into the work just yet because they have to complete this background check before I get access to some stuff. But overall, going pretty well.
Good.
I know it's always hard to like get started with the
Yeah.
new place, new people.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, like everyone's very nice, and they're a lot more like structured and organized than the last place that I worked. Um, which I mean, in some ways is nice. In some ways, I'm like, I kind of like a little chaos. So But yeah, it's been good.
Good. I don't know if we're at like a stopping place. It's been about 2 hours. That was kind of our plan for today. We normally go longer, but we were all just discussing for scheduling reasons. Um, yeah, anything that you guys want to like, any content you want to talk about that you have coming up or anything like that. Also, if you guys are looking for a readathon in the last bit of March here, the trans rights readathon is starting on the 20th, so tomorrow. And Sim Kern is the creator of that. I can actually link. I'll find something to like link in the description for that. Yes, Giselle. Um, I'm really excited for that one. It's very like open ended. You basically are just reading books with trans characters and or trans authors, and if you're able to, donating to trans organizations. Um, so yeah, very cool readathon, especially I think relevant right now. So if that's something that you're looking for, that's happening at the end of March. Huck and Kelly, anything to add?
I'm not good at planning my videos, so
You're like, your guess is as good as mine.
like who knows what might show up.
A
Yeah.
mystery for us all.
Yes.
I just posted one. Was it today? I just posted a video today, or was that yesterday? I don't even know. Like I just posted my February wrap up.
Yes.
I have no plans on what's gonna happen next.
Yeah. I like whenever I see people talk about like I upload Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm like, how? Like how do you I post whenever I can. Like that's how it works.
Yeah. Um What do I have coming up? I have like a currently reading video coming up. So it's just like a standard video they do. It's just not anything exciting. But that's coming up, on probably Monday, hopefully. And then I am going to also be posting my like spoiler discussion review of Assassin's Fate, which I had been holding off because of the HarperCollins strike. And that ended like a month ago, and I still have not gotten all of my videos that I was holding out. I think this will be the last one. So that'll come later in the week, maybe like Wednesday or Thursday or something.
I'm tempted to watch it, even though like I've only read like 6 books, because I need to admit to myself that I'm never going back. So
Oh, is that the decision? You're like never doing?
I'm pretty sure. I just get so bitter every time I think about Robin Hobb just existing, writing her mediocre books with her fake feminism.
Tell us how you really feel, Kara.
I know. I think people who watch probably already know that but also like some parts of her fandom can just be like incredibly unpleasant, and that has also put me off.
I have not found them to be as unpleasant as some other fandoms, like the Sanderson fandom. But yes, I find the Robin Hobb fandom if you disagree with the general consensus, can be very patronizing.
Yes.
You just don't get it, Kara.
That's exactly what they were trying to explain to me.
And you're just unrealistic. Like
or like, well, that happened, like she fixes that in like the later trilogy, and I'm like, okay, but it's a problem in these books. Like that doesn't change that I am correct about what I'm saying in this book. Like so.
And it doesn't change the fact that you're allowed to have your own opinion, and just like somebody, or just like somebody's books. If you don't like.
Yep. All right. So thank you, Kelly and Huck, for hanging out and crafting with me again.
Yeah.
They are already linked in the description. Thank you guys who are able to join us. I hope you had a good time crafting or whatever you were doing. Happy National Crafting Month. And thank you too for anyone who's watching this back later. We love doing these, so we're definitely going to be doing more of them. But yeah, have a good rest of your weekend or whatever time you're watching this, and we will see you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.